Do what Jack and Gary have done, and you have to win the Masters.
Big name missing from here, someone who's been associated with this tournament, Tiger Woods.
Well, obviously the main impact is that the ratings for TV shows are down. He has a great impact on the ratings. He increases the ratings.
Few legends in golf have left behind as much respect and resentment as Tom Watson. The 8-time major champion, the man who nearly touched greatness at Turnberry at age 59, became something far more complicated than just a champion. He transformed into golf's self-appointed moral enforcer, a sheriff patrolling the boundaries of what he believed the game should be. And the 5 players Watson absolutely hated weren't just rivals. They represented everything he thought was destroying the modern game. If you love seeing golf's hidden feuds uncovered, give this video some hype and keep watching, because this story gets wild. Watson didn't see himself as petty or vindictive. In his mind, he was protecting golf's soul from those who would corrupt it. But that mission left scorched earth everywhere he went, burning bridges with some of the biggest names in the sport. In early 2010, Tiger Woods was at his lowest point. His carefully constructed image had collapsed after a car crash outside his Florida home revealed a parade of infidelities. Sponsors fled. The golf world fell silent, most players offering vague no comments to protect the fraternity. But Tom Watson saw something different. He saw an opportunity not to protect Woods, but to correct him. At the 2010 Dubai Desert Classic, Watson held court at a pre-tournament press conference. The media expected generic comments about course conditions. Instead, Watson delivered a sermon. He declared that Woods had messed up, that the world knew he messed up, and that Woods had to take ownership of that. But Watson didn't stop at suggesting an apology. He scripted the entire performance Woods should give. Watson stated that Woods should do an interview and say he screwed up, admit it, and tell the world he wanted his wife and family back and had to earn her trust. This wasn't guidance from a concerned elder. This was a demand for public penance, with Watson explicitly mentioning Woods' wife and family. He was insisting that Woods perform his humiliation in the public square, satisfying Watson's own sense of justice. But Watson's attack went deeper than the scandal. He used Woods' vulnerability to launch a broader assault on his on-course behavior, grievances Watson had clearly harbored for years. Watson invoked the holy trinity of American golf: Jack Nicklaus, Byron Nelson, and Ben Hogan. He stated that Woods had not carried the same stature as these legends because of bad language and club throwing on the golf course. This was a calculated legacy strike. Watson was differentiating between greatness, which meant winning, and class, which meant behavior. He argued that while Woods had the trophies, he lacked the soul of a true champion. At 34 years old, Woods needed to clean up his act and show respect for the game. The public reaction was swift and mixed. Many pointed out the glass house from which Watson was throwing stones. Watson himself had faced personal struggles, including a divorce and publicized issues with alcohol earlier in his life. Critics characterized his comments as moral browbeating, questioning why Watson felt entitled to lecture a grown man on his personal life. The fallout created a prolonged, icy silence between the two legends. In late 2013, Watson admitted he had not talked with Tiger privately and would have to sit down and have a conversation with him. This revealed that for nearly 4 years, Watson hadn't reached out to Woods personally. He had been content to let the public indictment stand. Watson viewed Woods not as a successor, but as a cautionary tale of talent, devoid of humility. If Tiger Woods represented a failure of morality to Watson, Phil Mickelson represented a failure of subordination. The feud between Watson and Mickelson led to the single most significant structural change in American golf history: the creation of the Ryder Cup Task Force. This conflict wasn't fought in shadows. It was a public execution on live television, followed by years of sniper fire. The 2014 Ryder Cup at Gleneagles, Scotland, was framed as a redemption mission for Team USA. The PGA of America selected Tom Watson as captain, hoping his old-school toughness would harden the American squad. Watson's leadership style was authoritarian by his own admission. He adopted a dictatorship model, famously quoting, "Remember the Titans. This is no democracy, it is a dictatorship. I am the law." Phil Mickelson operated on a completely opposite philosophy. He had thrived under Paul Ozinger's 2008 captaincy, which utilized a pod system that gave players significant input into pairings and strategy. Watson ridiculed this approach, believing that players should simply play better and that the captain knows best. The tension exploded on Saturday of the Ryder Cup. With the U.S. trailing, Watson made the unilateral decision to bench Phil Mickelson and his partner Keegan Bradley for the entire day. This was unprecedented. Mickelson and Bradley sadly had been the most successful American pairing in 2012, and Mickelson was the team's emotional heartbeat. Mickelson reportedly pleaded to play. He texted Watson. He asked him face-to-face. Watson ignored the pleas and refused to play them. When later asked if he regretted the decision to sit his star player, Watson offered a cold, one-word answer. No. To Mickelson, this wasn't just a strategic error. It was a personal insult and a betrayal of the collaborative spirit he believed was necessary to win. The conflict reached its climax on Sunday, September 28, 2014, in the post-match press conference. The U.S. had lost badly. The team sat at a long table with Watson in the center and Mickelson a few seats away. When a reporter asked Mickelson what the path forward was for Team USA, Mickelson seized the microphone and the moment. He launched into a glowing, detailed eulogy for Paul Azinger's 2008 system, specifically highlighting every trait that Watson lacked. Mickelson stated they had a great formula in 2008, and he didn't know why they strayed. Paul Azinger got everybody invested in the process. Unfortunately, they had strayed from a winning formula for the last 3 Ryder Cups, and they needed to go back to that. The brutality of the moment lay in the subtext. Mickelson was sitting 6 feet from Watson, systematically dismantling Watson's entire leadership philosophy without looking at him. He was accusing Watson of ego, of failing to listen, and of abandoning the only strategy that had worked in a decade. Watson, caught off guard, sat with a watery grin, forced to defend himself in real time. Yet, the feud didn't die at Gleneagles. In 2015, Watson fired back, accusing Mickelson of sour grapes, dismissing his criticisms as the whining of a player angry about being benched. Watson refused to validate Mickelson's perspective, maintaining that the players failed the captain, not the other way around. The animosity grew with the emergence of LIV golf in 2022. Watson, the ultimate institutionalist, viewed Mickelson's defection to the Saudi-backed league as treason. Watson became one of the most vocal critics of LIV players. At the Masters Champions dinner, Watson publicly stated that LIV was a big problem because they paid all these guys fortunes beyond comprehension, and now these guys come back and play, there's going to be dissension. To Watson, Mickelson represented everything wrong with modern golf. Mickelson questions authority while Watson demands obedience. Mickelson chases money while Watson chases legacy. While Watson's conflicts with Woods and Mickelson were rooted in behavior and leadership, his conflict with Gary Player was nuclear. It was rooted in the accusation of cheating. In professional golf, the word cheat is the ultimate slur. Watson leveled this accusation directly at one of the game's global icons, creating a rift that has persisted for over 40 years. The setting was the inaugural Skins game in 1983 at Desert Highlands. The event was a made-for-TV spectacle featuring the Big Four: Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, and Tom Watson. The money was astronomical for the era. The total purse was $360,000, and individual holes were worth more than major championship first-place checks. On the par 3 16th hole with $120,000 at stake, Gary Player hit his tee shot into a desert area near the green. Tom Watson, observing from the green, claimed he saw Player remove a rooted leaf from behind his ball. Under the rules of golf, moving a growing or fixed object to improve your lie is a penalty. Player chipped up, made par, and the skin carried over. Watson didn't call the penalty in the moment, likely to avoid a scene on live television, but the rage simmered. After the round concluded, Watson confronted Player behind the 18th green. Watson's words were direct and devastating. He told Player, "I'm accusing you, Gary. You can't do that. I'm tired of this. I wasn't watching you, but I saw it." Phrase "I'm tired of this" is crucial. It implies that Watson believed this wasn't an isolated incident, but a pattern of behavior he had observed in Player for years. He was effectively calling Player a habitual cheat. Player vehemently denied the accusation. Later, Player wrote that he was staggered by the confrontation, calling it the most heinous charge to be laid against any golfer. Unlike other sports where fouls are part of the game, in golf a cheating accusation is a character assassination. Watson never retracted the charge. He never apologized. To Watson, the $120,000 was irrelevant. The integrity of the field was paramount. Decades later, the tension remains. The Leaf incident remains the defining moment of their relationship. Watson's refusal to back down demonstrates the absolutism of his hatred. He would rather lose a friendship with a legend than compromise on a rule of golf. Tom Watson's capacity for hatred extended beyond his fellow competitors to the media voices that covered the sport. The case of Gary McCord demonstrates Watson's ability to weaponize his influence to destroy a career when he felt the sanctity of the game had been violated. violated. Gary McCord was a journeyman pro-turned-broadcaster for CBS, known for his handlebar mustache and irreverent, comedic style. During the broadcast of the 1994 Masters, McCord was describing the lightning-fast speed of the greens at Augusta National. He quipped that he didn't think they mowed these greens, he thought they bikini waxed them. Earlier in the broadcast, he had also referred to the area behind a green as containing body bags. While the audience laughed, the membership at Augusta National and Tom Watson did not. Watson was incensed. He viewed the comments as vulgar and disrespectful to the hallowed grounds of Augusta. Watson took immediate action, writing 2 letters, one to Augusta National Chairman Jackson Stevens and a more aggressive one to Frank Cherkinian, legendary producer of CBS Golf. In the letter to Cherkinian, Watson wrote that he should be ashamed rather than champion McCord's irreverent behavior. Get rid of him now. Watson went further, calling McCord a lesion on the sport and the Howard Stern of TV golf. These weren't the complaints of a passive viewer. They were the demands of a powerful stakeholder. Watson's campaign was successful. Augusta National demanded McCord's removal from the Masters broadcast. CBS capitulated. Gary McCord was banned from the Masters forever. He never called another minute of the tournament. Years later, McCord and Watson had a confrontation at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, where they aired their grievances. While they eventually reached a cordial understanding, the incident highlighted Watson's ruthlessness. He was willing to impact a man's livelihood because he found a joke morally offensive. McCord became the only broadcaster ever banned from covering the tournament. The final entity on Watson's list isn't a single individual, but a collective, the 2014 United States Ryder Cup team. Watson's disdain for this group was obvious. He hated their culture, their need for positive reinforcement, and what he perceived as their softness. The atmosphere in the team room at Gleneagles was toxic. Watson, attempting to motivate his team on Saturday night while trailing badly, resorted to insults. Watson told the room, "You stink at foursomes." He then proceeded to ridicule the European players they would be facing in singles, a tactic that backfired spectacularly. The definitive moment of the rupture occurred during the traditional gift exchange. The U.S. team, led by veteran Jim Furyk, presented Watson with a replica Ryder Cup trophy signed by every member of the team. It was a gesture of respect for the captain, regardless of the score. Watson's reaction was shocking. Instead of accepting the gift with grace, he reportedly scoffed. He told the team that the gift meant nothing to him if they didn't win the real trophy the following day. To the players, this was a slap in the face. It confirmed that Watson viewed them only as utility to secure his own legacy. In Watson's mind, there were no participation trophies. You win, or you are nothing. The backlash was so severe that Watson was forced to pen an open letter of apology weeks later. Webb Simpson revealed that he had to text Watson at 4 a.m. on the morning of the captain's picks to beg for a spot. The lack of communication and the dictator style left players in the dark, further breeding resentment. Watson's disdain extended even to the fans. Following the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black, Watson issued a public statement saying he was ashamed of the rude and mean-spirited behavior of the American fans. Watson demanded a level of class that he felt the modern American golf ecosystem had completely abandoned. Tom Watson's 5 feuds weren't random outbursts. They were a pattern of moral superiority and emotional rigidity that defined the latter half of his career. Gary Player violated the rules. Gary McCord disrespected the cathedral. Tiger Woods lacked humility. Phil Mickelson challenged authority. The 2014 team embodied softness. Each represented a specific threat to what Watson believed golf should be. Watson's hatred wasn't personal. It was ideological, but it left scorched earth everywhere he went. In his mind, he was golf's sheriff, protecting its soul from those who would corrupt it. He saw himself as the last guardian of tradition. Watson chose confrontation over compromise, principle over popularity, rigid standards over human connection. His feuds cost him friendships with legends, respect from modern players, and ultimately his own peace. While his peers found ways to adapt and embrace the changing game, Watson dug in deeper, building walls instead of bridges. He demanded humility from Tiger while displaying arrogance. He demanded respect for authority from Phil while disrespecting his players. He demanded integrity from Player while destroying McCord's career over a joke. The irony is profound. Watson spent decades trying to protect golf's values, but in doing so, he violated some of its most fundamental principles: grace, forgiveness, and respect for others. He became so obsessed with defending the game's soul that he forgot about the human beings playing it. In trying to defend golf's soul, Tom Watson may have lost a piece of his own. Yet we can't deny his brilliance as a player, his magical short game, his courage at Turnberry. Watson's legacy on the course remains untouchable, but his legacy off it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of inflexibility, about what happens when principle becomes prison, when tradition becomes tyranny. Tom Watson will always be remembered as one of golf's greatest champions, but he'll also be remembered as the sheriff who never learned when to put the gun down.